That's ISO.
Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound. Fucking my post to say now, I've been humble too long, yeah, tell them all to stay calm.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Wealth on the Rocks. Today, I'm freaking pumped to have the one and only Kevin Maginnis. He's an executive marketing director with the Miliare Group. He coach thousands of people. I'm gonna let you take it from there. I'm so honored to have you here. So, please.
What would you like me to say?
You were born, now you're here. What happened in between?
Well, I was born when I was very, very young.
Yeah.
It's true, I can prove it.
Oh,
I've got facts. There's a whole lot of success and things, but that means there's been a whole lot of trials and tribulations and frustrations along that way. I've been fortunate enough to take two companies public, had two successful IPOs. Companies like Microsoft, Orbitz, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard have all had me come in and revamp their training programs, their executive leadership programs. So for the past 30 years, coaching, training, developing people at the highest levels is my forte. That's what I love doing. I love seeing people win. I love transferring skills. I love it when the light bulb goes on for someone and they start getting success that they weren't getting before. Yeah. That's what juices me.
That's amazing.
No, don't get me wrong. I cash my checks too.
Yeah. You got to do it.
But at the end of the day,
somebody's got to do it.
You got to feel good about what you do. I believe if you're going to do something long term, you got to feel good about it. I love seeing people win. I love knowing that I helped. If I was a burr under the saddle or a boot in the butt or an encouraging word or a drill sergeant when they needed it, whatever it took to help them get to that next level, that feels amazing that I can be part of that process for them.
That's so amazing. And we'll get into a little bit more of that. Today, you're probably going to make fun of this. Anyway, we are drinking some of my favorite stuff, actually. So this is called Triple Down Light Whiskey.
All right.
And it's from a store in Spring Hill in Tennessee. For those outside of Tennessee, it's kind of a little south Nashville. And shout out to Elixir. Great people out there with Tarek, and they have this 4-pack of these that they did. They went out and picked them, and they have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Okay. So that's what we're drinking today. This specifically is Conquest. Okay. Which I feel is a pretty fitting title for your life story.
For a
it's
conversation.
A conquest.
Yeah, there we go. There have been several conquests. Absolutely.
So this is a pretty spicy one. Nobody knows what time it is right now, but
6 o'clock in the morning and we're cracking whiskey. So there you
it's
go.
135 proof.
Woo!
So it's pretty tasty though. It's pretty good stuff. So
and you're about to we're going to be talking about wealth on the rocks, according to that. And yet we have no rocks in my glass.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So yeah, it might have been. Here's the thing: whiskey can be done in multiple ways. Neat is probably one of my favorite ways to do this. Some people do a little droplet of water. Some people do
we should
rocks.
be saying wealth is neat.
Wealth is neat.
Wealth is neat.
I know. Yep. So I'm getting roasted over here.
Cheers.
Well, cheers. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. For how hot it is, it's incredible. But so all right, so going back to your story, I mean, one of the things, and I tell this to a lot of people, is that you're one of the best trainers I've ever met, or the best trainer I've ever met in my entire life. Pound for pound,
the best trainer you've ever met.
Whatever. So, I'm curious because that skill set is you're not born being the best trainer ever, right? So you had to develop that skill set over the years. Walk me through some of those wins and some of the losses too, because I'm curious. People always see the highlight reel, and it can be almost a little demotivating because you see this person you see the Ed Milets of the world and the Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchards jumping up and down, and then you're like, I'm not there yet. Like, how do I get to that point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, a couple things. A, you maybe never want to get to that point. You don't need to be Ed Milet. You don't need to be Brandon Burchard. You don't need to be Kevin Maginnis. You need to be the best you, and you need to be the best you, whatever that is. But you still want to always know there's room for improvement. There's a way to get to that next level. How do I grow and develop? At least my belief is, so it's like somebody says, well, you want to change my teenager. your teenager hasn't figured life out yet. They think they know it all, but you're telling me there's no room for growth at that point?
Right.
You're telling me they can't get... I don't know about you, but I've learned a few things since I was a teenager.
No kidding, yeah.
But I thought I knew it all then.
Yep.
And the older I get, the more I realize I know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
That's true. And what is that saying? Like, I know what I know, I know what I don't know, and I know who knows what I don't know, right?
If you know that, that's all you need
That's
to know.
all you need to know.
Know what you know who knows what you don't know, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to continue to increase your knowledge? If you're applying it, and I'm going to be very careful on this because a lot of people think knowledge is power. That's a common thing that people say, knowledge is power. And if that was true, if knowledge was powerful, when I'm sitting in rooms or standing in front of a room on stage with literally thousands of people, 10,000 people, I've had talks of groups that large.
Yeah.
And when there's thousands of people in a room and I ask the audience, how many of you know and know that you should be eating more leafy green vegetables? All the hands go up, right? Like
Sure,
90% of the hands in the room.
Yep.
How many of you know you should be drinking more water on a daily basis?
Is brown water count?
Counts. No. So all these hands go up. How many of you know you should be exercising more consistently than you are? What do you think?
A bunch of
almost
people.
all the,
Yep.
I mean, not a bunch, almost all the hands in the room go up. So if knowledge was power, if you know those things are true, and you know them,
Right.
and you still aren't doing them, that proves knowledge is not powerful to get you to take action. It can be. Occasionally it is, but
Yeah.
it is not consistent. Knowledge alone is not going to consistently get you to take action. Action always leads to knowledge. Knowledge does not always lead to action.
Wow. If you're taking notes, this is you probably should be taking notes right now. That is amazing.
So let me peel back the layers a little bit before we go to the next subject. So what is it about knowledge when we actually apply it, and what is it about knowledge that we don't apply? So we'll hear something, we'll agree with it, we'll be like, oh man, I should be doing that, and I should be doing this, and I should be doing the other, and pretty soon we should all over ourselves, and we don't get anything done. And anyone listening along, you know there's some shoulds in your life, and then there's a few decisions that you make.
Yeah.
And when you make a decision, the Latin is to cut off all hope of escape. When you truly make an actual decision, you're cutting off anything that's not going to get you in that direction. So you're literally saying, this is it. I'm not going to make another move except in this new direction. You're cutting off all other ways of
Burning all the boats.
burning the boats. Which, by the way, everyone talks about burning the boats and, hey, we're going to win or die because we burn the boats. Get your supplies off the boats before you burn the boats.
Yeah, that's probably smart, yeah.
So we talk about people in business becoming an entrepreneur because a lot of people following along are wanting to go down the entrepreneurial route. And they get told that story about, Cortez and burn the boats and the soldiers had to win or die. But getting the supplies off the boat means sometimes you keep working at your job while you're building your business until you have enough knowledge, because you still need the knowledge, but you're actually applying, because applied knowledge is incredibly powerful. Knowledge is not powerful. Applied knowledge is. But what causes us to apply it is the emotion that we feel. So if we have this, if I say, hey, we're going to go eat sushi tomorrow, part of your brain says either I've eaten sushi before, I like sushi, I'm looking forward to going to sushi with Kevin, or it's like, I tried sushi one time, it tasted terrible, I don't want to go to sushi with Kevin.
Sure.
Or I haven't tried sushi and I'm excited about trying it, or I think it's gross and disgusting.
Sure.
So there's an emotional response you have in your body based on the idea, the thought, the vision in your mind of going and having sushi.
Yeah.
Whatever that emotion is, if that's an emotion you consistently feel, that's going to drive the behavior. So when we talk about knowledge being powerful, yes, I know I should be exercising more. But if the pictures I run in my mind are consistently, I'm going to be tired and sore and hot and sweaty, and it won't work, and it's not going to change anything, so I don't see any better vision than just this painful vision, then that person is never going to take consistent action.
Yeah.
Even when a doctor says, hey, you're going to die, I'm going to die being uncomfortable, or I'm going to die not being. I might as well be comfortable before I die than be uncomfortable and still die anyway if I don't think it's going to work, if I don't think it's going to get a result.
Yeah.
So our brain will always go to the lesser of two evils. We're always weighing on a scale of 1 to 10. What's the pain I have to go through to get this result?
Yeah.
What's the scale of 1 to 10, how good that result's going to feel once I get it?
Right.
So there's a pain to change, and then there's the pain of not changing.
Right.
There's the pleasure of getting it, and then there's the pleasure of being lazy.
Right.
So we're always weighing those 4 things on a scale of 1 to 10. The way to get yourself to take more action is create more pain on if I don't change it. Run more movies in your head of how bad things could get. Allow yourself to be negative.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to worry. People say, don't worry. I say, do worry. Worry about the right things. Worry about things that will cause you to want to take action. Worry about if I don't change, these things could go wrong. And then play positive movies on if I do start taking these uncomfortable actions, what are the benefits I could get out of, not will,
Yep.
not should, but what are the benefits I could get out of it? If you run more positive movies on if I make the change and more negative movies if I don't make the change,
Right.
versus the weeds that grow automatically. Weeds
Okay.
grow automatically. You don't have to plant weeds.
Right.
The negative thoughts grow automatically. It's going to be uncomfortable to change. Weeds grow automatically.
Sure.
The what if it doesn't work? Weeds grow automatically. You have to plant the flowers of
In between.
here's some things if I don't do it, and
Yeah.
here's the things that could go right if I do it. I said do. But anyway, so those 4, if someone will look at those 4 areas and anything you want to change, start with those 4 areas.
Okay.
What's the pain of changing? What's the pain of not changing? What's the pleasure of changing?
Yeah.
What's the pleasure of not changing?
Yeah.
And start running more movies on the 2 that will move you in the right direction.
Wow, that's incredible. That is incredible. And I feel like, you're a true testament of this too, because through your entrepreneurial career, I mean, you've had several times, right, that you had some of those decision moments of avoiding pain, go into this or purposely like jumping all into things. You're very successful in finance. I mean, walk us through some of that and like what got you to that, making some decisions. Because I know a lot of people watching are like probably even working another job, right, trying to work their hustle and do these things or the other. How do you sort of made those decisions and kind of got to that?
So 2 things. One is before you burn the boats, getting your supplies off the boats means that in many cases they are working that job. So while they're working at their JOB,
Right.
their jail operating as a business, right?
Jail operating as a business, right?
The warden that tells you when you can go to work, when you have to be there,
Yeah.
tells you how much you're worth, tells you when you can go on vacation, when you can take your coffee break. The warden is in charge.
tough.
They put
Yeah.
you on slavery. I mean, they put you on salary.
Sure.
And so, anyhow, if someone's working a job, use a job what a job is good for.
Right.
A job is really good for keeping a roof over your head, putting gas in your car, while you read the books, while you study, while you learn, while you start applying your skills
Right.
to be able to have wealth creation. Because without wealth creation, and
Yeah.
most people look at the majority of employees, are they extremely wealthy? And if the majority of employees aren't extremely wealthy, if you look at the employees that are doing your job, the same job
20
that you're
years
doing,
from now, yeah. I mean,
and if they're not where you want to be financially,
Yeah.
maybe we should make some new decisions, right?
Right.
But keep the job while you take your spare time and turn it into profitable time doing those activities that will actually give you the knowledge and the skill set
Yeah.
so that you're making more money, you can actually make that transition.
Yeah.
But back to where did some of that start? I grew up on a ranch, breaking and training horses. Turns out training people
Yeah.
and training livestock have a lot of similarities.
okay, I was going to say 2 different things. No, it's very
completely
similar.
the same.
Okay.
Sugar cubes and cattle prods, and you can get a lot done with people.
Okay.
Okay, don't use cattle prods on
Sure,
people.
sure.
But that same mindset, like if I'm training a horse, one of the first things you have to do to train a horse, when you're taking a horse that's never been touched before, they've been just turned out to pasture,
Sure.
3 years old, I'm not talking about taking them from I'm talking about a wild horse,
Wild,
right?
yep.
And that's the best. I wanted a horse when I was training horses. I wanted one that I could go put miles on them. I didn't want a long yearling where their knees hadn't even grown together and you're hurting them. Now I want a strong horse
Sure.
that hasn't been messed with. Untraining and retraining someone else's problems was always a pain.
Right,
I'd
right.
rather take something that never seen a human being
Right.
and let's start from scratch.
Mold it, yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But problem with that horse is just going into the pen with it. Horse would freak out. Eyes roll back in their head. They're stomping their paw and they want to
Yep.
kick you. They want to bite you. They have no idea what you are, right? So there's 2 main philosophies. One, break their spirit and be mean to animals, and I'm not a be mean to anybody, let alone animals kind of guy.
Sure.
And then there's doing things that aren't going to hurt the animal, but are going to train them along the way.
Right.
Same thing with people. I mean, you can say and I heard this from Coach JV recently, you can say what you mean without saying it mean.
Okay.
Right? So too many times we think, oh, we have
Yeah.
to say what we mean, but that means I get to ride roughshod over the top of you. That's
Not quite, yeah.
You can do it that way, but there's better ways, in my opinion,
Right.
to do it. So with horses, you would actually tie them up, but the rope would be tied to an inner tube on a post, so when they pull back, it would have some stretch and give to it,
Sure.
so they're not going to hurt themselves, they're going to pull and damage their neck or anything.
Right.
But you do what's called sacking a horse out. So what's sacking a horse out? You take a blanket and you shake a blanket in the air.
Okay.
I mean, "Bah!" That's like the world's coming to an end for the horse, right? So they
Sure.
pull back and they snort and they paw, and then you wait, and pretty soon
Calm
they
down.
start breathing, right? As soon as they let that big breath out, and you talk nice to them, and you rub them on the neck and tell them what a beautiful horse they are, and then as soon as they're you shake the blanket again, right? And they freak out again, and
Yep.
you do that
Yep.
until the one. If you guys are writing down any words, write down the word until. Anything you're learning, you do it until. If you're teaching a baby to walk, you let go of their hands and catch them. Let go of their hands and won't catch them. Until. There's only one word. It's until.
Right.
It's not if. It's until. I'm going to keep doing this repetition until they get it.
Right.
So you do that until you can rub the blanket on them and they don't freak out.
Right.
And as soon as you got them to the point where you can rub the blanket on them, they're like, oh yeah, this is no big deal.
Yeah.
Then you bring out a plastic tarp.
Yeah.
And you shake that, and the whole world,
Does
and you
all
start
the-
the process again.
Yeah.
And then it's with a leather-smelling saddle, and you put that
Right.
on them and off and on and off and on and off until. And it's called desensitizing. You got to desensitize the horse from being afraid of any movements, because I can't train a horse and give them to someone, and that person reaches for something, and because the horse
Yeah.
freaks out and
Yeah.
they fall off the horse, right? So
Right.
you've got to desensitize them.
Yeah.
Well, that's every one of us. There's things that we know we need to be doing to grow our businesses, and the thing that you're avoiding is probably the one thing you need to be doing.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that will take you to the next level in your business. So whatever
So
you're
true.
avoiding, desensitize yourself from it by just totally immersing yourself
Doing a
in
lot
it,
of activity. Yeah.
of that activity.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people too, like when I talk to individuals, is like they're busy, and your calendar being busy doesn't mean that you have a lot of production or productivity, right? So you can be like, you can be a professional meeting attender too, right? You can be like in all the things and reading all the books and knowing all the things, but if the things that are moving the needle are making the calls and doing the activity, right? Whatever is for your business, if you're
The
doing
grind,
it,
whatever that grind is.
Exactly. So that's what moves the needle. That's what you need to focus. It reminds me of if you know Alex Hormozi. In one of his recent books, he's
I don't know
talking
him personally.
Sure, sure.
I do know.
Hey, Alex Hormozi, come to the podcast. We one of the things that he says is that one of the things to increase that is 100 times. So like if making a phone call is that thing, you make 100 phone calls every single day for the next 100 days.
Yep.
And it's like times, you have so much there's no way that if you do the activity that moves the needle forward that many times, that many repetitions, like what you said, right? It desensitizes you and
It'll desensitize you and
Yeah.
get you results.
100%.
Now, if you can do that and put a smile on your face while you're doing it,
Yeah.
this is crucial.
Okay.
You can do it without this piece, but when you add this piece, it supercharges it.
Yeah.
Okay. So whistle while you work. I think it was Snow White saying
Yeah,
whistle
yeah.
while you work. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's actually psychologically true.
Yeah.
Because if we put ourselves in a positive state and then take an action, put ourselves in a positive state, take an action, put ourselves in a positive state, take the action, pretty soon taking that action puts us in a positive state, or at least neutralizes the fear we were feeling of it before.
Yeah.
So pumping up, smiling, right, and then making the call.
Yeah.
Now the other thing is a body at rest tends to stay at rest, and a body at motion tends to stay at motion.
Mm-hmm.
So that first call, the second call, the third call, those are the hardest. And whether it's call, or whether it's doing a presentation, or whether it's asking for the order, or whether it's encouraging someone to take an action, or whether it's calling someone out on bad behavior, the first time you're doing that as a leader, it's uncomfortable. So
Right.
body at rest tends to stay at rest. We just don't want to do that activity, so we don't
Right.
do it. But once you've done it 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
all of a sudden the fourth one becomes a much easier. You've desensitized yourself
Sure.
a lot from it. But even on a daily basis, David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
We talk about David Goggins and just some of the phenomenal stuff he does. But there's times he stares at his shoes for 15 minutes before he can put them on and go out and run. Right? It's just
Yeah.
like he's got to get himself. But sometimes it's hard to put the shoes on. Sometimes it's hard to lace the shoes up.
Yeah.
But the thing if that's the thing you're avoiding,
Yeah.
that's the thing to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Instead of coming up with all this busy work and it's almost lunchtime anyway at 9 o'clock
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
do
Stop
the
working
uncomfortable
and-
thing. Brian
yeah.
Tracy calls it eating the frog. If there's a frog and you have to eat it today, staring at it longer is not going to make it eat.
Right.
Just eat the frog.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, and I feel like, going to what you said about David Goggins, I sometimes feel like even just the fact of putting the shoes on, even if you're staring at them for long enough, you've already won because you already, in your mind, you know that you're already going to go on that run. You've already put the shoes on. You're just like getting the courage enough, and I don't know what it is, just the click in the mindset, right? But I feel like you almost already have won by pushing yourself.
The little
to do
step,
it.
the little baby, the atomic habits. You have a book on yourself called Atomic Habits.
Yep.
Having that little habit that leads to the big habit. So the first little habit is every morning choosing to put on your gym shorts and your tennis shoes.
Right.
Regardless of if you even don't go to the gym that day, no matter what, you get in the habit of every morning I put on my gym. The odds of you actually getting into your car, making it to the gym, or going down to your basement and working out go up dramatically by just that one activity.
Yeah.
Right. So finding those little activities that done consistently, and when you say this is my green time for my business, I've got my job, and now I'm blocking from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock every night. I've got family time blocked, but for that time I'm going to build my business. Well, then from 6 to 7, don't be getting ready to get ready.
Yeah.
From 6 to 7, be doing the activities that will actually grow your business.
Right.
So,
and I'm curious with that, whenever, because in the position you are right now, right, you structure your days, I'm sure, differently than when you first started and you were in the grind and in the middle of like, I'm trying to get my
different
business up
grind
and
now.
running.
There's
Right.
still grind, but different
Sure,
grind.
it's a different, and so I'm curious, for either the people that are, like you said, you have your time for your work and then you have time outside of that, and then people making the transition or already jumping full time into whatever their hustle, their dream is, right? How do you structure your days? And I'm curious some of the habits that you've picked up over the years to win the days and to get ahead.
Making your bed first thing in the morning. There's a whole talk by Navy SEAL camp commander who talked about, one of the things they teach in the military, and I was in the military, is making your bed every morning.
Yeah.
And that sounds so silly. Like, what does making your bed have to do with anything? It's a habit that if you have good habits, your habits rule your life, good or bad. But that habit of making your bed means you got one thing right today.
Right.
If your whole day goes to crap, at the end of the day you come home, when you look at your bed, you have a nice made bed. It actually puts an end on the day of climbing into a nicely made bed.
Right.
Of at least I got that one thing right today.
Right.
And maybe I can get two things right tomorrow.
Yeah.
So as silly as that sounds, it goes back to those little things that work on our psychology as well. That I can do that. And then it's identifying those habits that move you emotionally as well, that move the needle on your emotion, not just the activity in the business, but what can I look at myself and feel good about? So we had a gal that came to work with us, and she was scared of her own shadow when it came to talking to people. She had no problem talking with her friends.
Sure.
But like going in, and for a lot of people, and unfortunately, and any teachers that are watching this, I want to apologize in advance, but teachers at school instill the fear of public speaking.
Right.
And the way that happens is a young child is goofing off in the back of the class, not paying attention.
Yep.
The teacher sees that, so they call on them. They know they didn't see the math problem on the board, so they tell them to come up and do the math problem, knowing the child can't do it.
Yep.
And the kid gets up there scared because he can't do it, nervous, looking at a sea of people, nervous, looking at a sea of people, nervous, looking at a sea of people. Pretty soon, looking at a sea of people makes them nervous. So they're anchoring that feeling in.
Yeah.
And of course, kids are so forgiving when you make a mistake.
Right.
Not.
Right.
Right? So they've instilled fear. In America, public speaking is the more of snakes, more than spiders. I don't know how that is, because my brother used to catch spiders and throw them on me.
thank you.
I'm not a big fan of spiders. But I understand how associations work, and I could
Sure.
break that association. I could change that association and not be afraid of spiders. But I think that's a healthy fear. I'm totally fine being afraid of spiders.
It's irrational.
So I'm good with leaving that one there. I could break it if I wanted to. I don't want to. So those things that we identify that are our fears. So she was afraid of talking to people, and she was in a business where having new conversations with new people was going to be a predominant thing that would help her be successful.
Right.
So how did I help her break that fear? I had to desensitize her. So I said, for this week, I want you to go and compliment 5 people a day. You cannot ask for their phone number. You cannot give them your business card. You are just to go out and compliment 5 people in your green time for your business.
Right.
You get your normal job, but your green time for your business, your only requirement, go compliment 5 people. And her first, and she had to report back every day. Accountability is a huge piece of winning at anything.
Yep.
So she gave me the accountability of going out and talking to them, and she was able to say, oh yeah, I talked to this person, I complimented their car, this other person's outfit, da da da. And you can see her kind of the fear of talking to people over that week starts to desensitize,
Right.
just because she's just going out and complimenting, not looking, not expecting. So a lot of times it's because we think, oh, if I expect something from them, then they're going to see that and they're going to think I'm trying to get something from them.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's true. If you do have this, I want something from you, that smell emanates from your body.
100%.
And people can smell it even over the phone, even over Zoom. When you truly are doing something because you care about someone else, you want to help lift them up, they can smell that as well.
Yeah.
So anyhow, first week goes by. By the end of the week, she has a few people that are like, I really wanted to talk to them about my business. I wanted to kind of share information, but you told me I couldn't. I'm like, exactly right. She said, but so this next week, can I go ahead and start at least handing out a card? I said, A, throw away your cards because that's what everyone else is going to do anyway. So
Gonna go in a junk drawer anyway.
I've
Yeah.
got a better thing for you than cards, which
Yeah.
I'll share with you. When I ask somebody else for their card, most people don't have a card.
Right.
So I don't wait. I don't say, hey, do you want my card? I say, hey, do you have a card?
Right.
And most of them who've never had a card in their life will tap their pockets
Yeah,
if they're as
Oh,
if
let
one's
me.
no, I don't have one right
left it
now.
at
right?
home. Yeah.
And they feel guilty
Yeah.
because they can't produce what I asked them for. So and I'm not trying to make them feel guilty, but just understand the psychology.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, they want to give you the card and they can't. And then I
Right.
say,
Yeah.
that's okay. Let me shoot you mine. I do it electronically. What's a good number to text you?
That's incredible.
Which is so much better than, yo, baby, give me your digits.
Yeah.
For me,
If you're taking notes, this is such a great way because I know you're a master networker, right? And like in business,
I'm not.
You're
Oh
trained.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm a trained. I don't like it.
Okay.
Let me just be very clear.
Okay.
I'm a huge introvert. And people say, but I see you speak on stage in front of thousands of people. No.
There's no way, Kevin. There's no way.
I have an individual conversation from stage. I talk to this person for a minute, and I talk to that person that's smiling for a minute. This person with their arms, I ignore them. I'm talking to the smiling faces individually in the crowd.
Okay.
I've never done public speaking. I've done thousands of talks, but I've never done public speaking. I always talk to
individually to
individuals. Correct.
That's pretty cool.
And to the networking, like afterwards, the glad handing, the tapping backs, and me, that is so draining for me. At the end of the night, I'll be
Right.
exhausted. You put me on stage, I'll be energized at the end of the night. You make me go network, I'll
Yeah.
be exhausted. So
Yeah.
I am absolutely, that is not
Yeah.
my name. My love language is not who I
Yeah.
am. I am introverted, unless I'm having an individual conversation with them.
Sure.
I'll get very expressive on an individual basis, but to go make myself, now, I learned early on though, that in order to be successful at certain positions that I've had in my life,
Right.
that was a requirement of the job
Right.
or the role or the position to be able to build my business. So that I get that ball rolling? Did I,
Yeah.
body at rest, stay at rest, body in motion tends to stay in motion. Did I make myself go do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because successful people are willing to make themselves do the things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, couldn't you desensitize yourself from it? That's what I would do. I'd go desensitize, but I never got to the point where I loved it. It just wasn't, it's not who I am.
Right.
So I'd be lying and saying if that's what juiced me, and it never has to.
Right.
I just had to get myself to do it enough until I had a business in place where the business was doing that for me and I didn't have to do that anymore.
Right.
So don't think that you have to love every piece of your business. There's gonna be no matter what business you have, there's gonna be parts of it you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
But once your business gets big enough, you'll have other people who are good at those roles and you don't have to do them, but you will have to do uncomfortable things
Yeah.
to reach things that are currently outside. If your income's at a certain level, more money than that is outside your current comfort zone.
Right.
If it wasn't, you'd be making that kind of money.
Right.
So if you're not making that kind of money, then there's some activities that are also outside your comfort zone that once you're doing those activities, then that income will be inside your comfort zone.
Right.
So by definition, anything you don't have now is outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You're going to have to expand your comfort zone. But the cool thing about a comfort zone is it's like a circle. If you expand it here, if you do one thing that's outside your comfort zone expands, and all these other things that used to be outside your comfort zone now become more comfortable. They're not.
Right.
You don't have to love them, but you're going to at least do them consistently to get the results you need until you have a business that's going at the point where you don't have to do those things anymore.
Right, and I think it's almost like I forget who said about the thermostat and the thermometer or whatever, but like I've noticed too throughout the time that I've doing this too is like as you do the uncomfortable things, when you expand your, like you said, right, your bubble and or, so to speak, your uncomfortableness zone, you get to a level too that you're not going back. You're already sort of like, all right, we've reached the next stair step, and that is no longer uncomfortable, I can continue growing in the next one and the next one and the next one. And then time is of an essence too, because a lot of times people think that it's like, all right, immediately today I'm gonna do all and I'm gonna go and burn out pretty quickly. But it takes time to, quite frankly, go through the failures too and learn from those mistakes. And I'm curious too, like throughout your career, what are some of those? You don't have to share if you don't want to, like all the failures, but you know, like what are some of those pivotal moments?
There is no success without failure.
Yeah, pivotal moments in your life that you said, man, I failed at this, but I learned so much from it that it pushed me to the next level.
Yes. Just to put a bow on the gal that did the compliment thing.
Yeah.
By the next week, she was complimenting and doing, hey, do you have a car?
The car, yeah.
And then the next thing you know, she's just out building her business and it was like
no
water
problem.
off a duck's back.
I love that.
And now she's one of the best in the company training others how to do that.
Amazing.
So sometimes your failures allow you to then go be the person who can teach others how to get past those same failures.
Yeah.
So just that ability, that mindset of you don't have to be perfect at things. You can struggle at them and still make yourself do them, and you'll be able to help others do that as well in the future by your example.
Yeah.
So the failures, so I was a professional cowboy. I rode saddle broncs, bulls, team roped and calf roped, so a professional bull rider. And when you're riding bulls, it's not an if you're going to get hurt. It's when you're going to get hurt.
100% you are going to get ejected from the bull.
Oh, no, yeah, not just eject, but you're also going to land wrong or get a horn stuck in you or get stomped on. And bull stuck his horn on my jaw, broke it in 2 places. So funny thing about riding bulls is their skin turns. Their skin rolls just like ours.
Okay.
So when they turn one way, your weight is going the other way, and the skin. So literally, as they're turning left, it's making you go right. So you have to lean into what's called the eye of the hurricane. You have to drop into the well. So as you're watching their shoulders, don't watch their head because their head can flop around, but their shoulders tell you where they're going for the most part, and their body movement. So you're feeling that.
Wow.
And as they start that turn, you're dropping into the well. So as this bull made the turn to the left, I dropped into the well. He threw his head back at that point. Horn comes up.
Gosh.
I was right where I had to be to make the ride.
That's
and
crazy.
Still got a horn stuck through my jaw. Now, when you're riding 2,000-pound animals that want to stomp a mud hole in your chest, that's their whole whole goal, and your whole goal is to not let them stomp a mud hole in your chest. Right? You're kind of 10 feet tall and bulletproof. You've put yourself into a mindset that you're going to be able to do this.
Sure.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to even climb on them in the chute.
Right.
And the way you did that was you visualized over and over and over just being right in the middle of the hurricane, just being able to ride no matter what they threw at you. So every time you go to climb on a bull, you do 5 perfect rides in your mind for every 1 bull you actually climbed on. So even if you got bucked off, you'd have 5 perfect rides and 1 bad ride every time you rode. So you're stacking up all these positive images for the 1 negative. Now, it might take some time to heal from that one. The positive ones, you never had to worry about getting hurt in your mind. Right. But that's a beautiful thing of mental rehearsal. You can rehearse things perfectly in your mind. And your brain can't tell the difference between real and vividly imagined or vividly remembered experiences. So you can actually get yourself into an emotional state where you believe you're going to be able to ride, even though in actuality you've never covered a single bull. You've been bucked off every time you've ridden a bull, but in your mind you've ridden 200 of them. So being able to visualize yourself, whatever area of your business you're trying to improve, doing mental rehearsals of you winning at that activity for every activity you actually attempt to go do.
This is a very interesting thing. So, because some people refer as this visualizations, right? That's a big thing. Affirmations and visualization. So I do that throughout the day as well. But I've never done, I'm curious if you've done this, like where you visualize people signing.
Yes.
Or
every activity. That's what I just said. Every activity.
That is incredible.
Every activity you want. Someone just saying, oh, I like what you're saying. Somebody just leaning into the conversation. Somebody being like, oh, thank you. So that's where I talked about running movies in those 4 areas earlier. When I say running a movie, I have to choose, because that's what we had to do to ride a bull. You had to run an intentional movie. Of the action you wanted to actually perform. That's any action. It could be talking to someone. It could be getting a yes. It could be having them actually sign up for whatever you're helping them sign up for. It could be them coming into your business and being a part of your team. But absolutely visualizing that success for every 1 actual interaction that you want to have a good result in, play a movie all the way to the end, and then rewind it, play it again, rewind it, play it again, rewind it, play it again in your mind before you actually do the 1 activity. And you can do it in seconds. So once you practice this, once you role play with it, you get people are worrying all the time. What's worry? It's running a movie. You're running a movie of things going wrong. That's the weed growing automatically. So by choosing to run a movie that has the outcome you want, be the director of your own movie consistently. And that's an act. That is, if I could give one thing to boost confidence. And by the way, when two people meet, whoever's more convinced will be more convincing.
Okay.
Conviction comes with confidence. Confidence and conviction go hand in hand. So when you run a movie over and over and over of it going well,
Yeah.
now if you run that movie, but then the other part of your brain says, no, that won't happen, and it runs in it, then they're nullifying each other.
Sure.
So you've got to put weed block down in the weeds. Every time you try to run a negative movie, run the positive movie back to back. And another thing on this is mantras. Having a mantra that you can say.
Okay.
Will help with that. So when I'm dialing a phone or teaching someone how to dial the phone to make a call, having something you can say that will keep you from having another conversation in your head.
Okay.
So it could be, if they don't answer, it's still okay. If they don't answer, it's still okay. Or they're probably going to answer, and I've got a script. They're probably going to answer, and I've got a script. They're probably going to answer, and I've got a script.
Yeah.
Something that you get to say over and over, so you don't say, well, what if they ask me this? And what if I don't know? What if I look stupid, right? Having a mantra of anything. It doesn't matter. It could just be popcorn, popcorn, popcorn.
Yeah.
But saying something that actually supports you in,
Sure.
man, they're going to love what I have to say. They're going to love what I have to say. They're going to love what I have to say until you reach someone, and they will. If you have something good to offer, eventually you're going to find people who
But I think
do.
that in your mind, that kind of clicks something that like makes you step into that sort of new reality, like that new, yeah.
But
That's
also,
amazing.
even if it doesn't do that, it stops you from having the negative thoughts.
Right.
It's a weed block.
Yeah.
So the Dominic Dawes, Simone Biles, the Olympic gymnasts, right?
Sure.
Cool, calm, and confident. Cool, calm, and confident. Cool, calm. You'll watch them right before they do a tumbling run saying that. Why are they saying cool, calm, and confident?
Yeah.
It's because that way they're not saying, what if this judge doesn't like me? What if I twist
break my neck? Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
by having a mantra, you can't be having two simultaneous thoughts.
That's so
So you're
powerful, yeah.
choosing a thought that'll at least keep you in this state versus allowing your brain to take you out of the state, the emotional state you need to be in to take that action right then.
I love that.
And I want to piggyback on one thing you said, affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
For most people, affirmations don't work. For everyone, affirmations would work, but for most people, affirmations don't work. Why do I say that? Most people, they say affirmations like, I love making phone calls, I love making phone calls, or whatever it is for their business.
Sure.
And there's the other side of the brain is like, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't. So they're fighting themselves
internal
all the
battle,
time,
yeah.
right? And that's not going to put them in the state they need to be in
Sure.
to get them to lace up the shoes and go take that step, right? I love running, I love running, I love running. No, you don't. You hate running. It makes you breathe hard, and you get a cramp in your side, and
Right.
my feet hurt, and I get blisters, right? So saying an affirmation for most people is not the most effective way to do it. If they did it, if they were able to put a smile on their face and say the affirmation, put a smile on their face and say the affirmation and block the weeds long enough, it always will work. So I said affirmations can work for everyone, but for most people they don't, because since they're always fighting themselves, pretty soon they just give up on it. They don't do it long enough to actually start getting the results.
Right.
So I could just say stick with it, but I'm going to give you something better than just stick with it.
Okay.
And that is turn your affirmations into questions.
Interesting. Okay.
So if I need to get myself in better physical shape, and I say I love working out, and that's not working.
Yeah.
Why do I have the fit body of an athlete, or why am I able to have the fit body of an athlete? If I ask that question, why am I able to have the fit body of an athlete? Well, our brain's a computer; it will come up with an answer. So
Right.
if I ask that question over and over and over again, and put some could, able to, as opposed to am
Right.
at first, why am I able to have the fit body of an athlete? That will automatically give you a positive answer. Well, because you worked out when you were little. Why am I able to have the fit body of an athlete? Because you wrestled in school. Why am I able to have the fit body? Because I boxed for a while. Why am I able to have the fit body of an athlete? Because I have a good heart rate. I've got good muscle mass underneath. Right? Just whatever. You'll start coming up with good answers if you ask a question. Whereas if you say, I have the fit body of an athlete, when you look in the mirror and you don't have the fit body of an athlete,
Yeah.
you're going to fight yourself on it.
Sure.
So by taking everything that you want as an affirmation, like making phone calls, why am I able to consistently make calls every day?
Yeah.
That's so much better of an affirmation question than I love to make calls, I love to make calls, I love to make calls. Then I make calls every day, I make calls every day. Because as soon as you don't make calls every day, then you're calling yourself, you're literally going to call yourself out for being a liar internally, and you're going to start berating yourself, and we talk bad to ourselves and cuss at ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Turning to the question, why am I able to get myself to make calls every day?
Yeah.
Changes everything.
Wow, that's amazing. I usually say like the will, like I am becoming a better leader, a better father, a better husband, like I'm gonna be the first person in my family to make a difference. Like those kind of like will, but it's kind of interesting concept, right? Like changing that into a question. Why am I gonna be able to?
Why am I going to be the one who changes my family? Look,
Right.
say that one. Say it out loud.
Why am I gonna be the first person to change my family's lineage and history?
Now think about the answer to that as you say
Yeah.
that, and just notice the feeling that goes through
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that? Well,
Because
why
there's
I'm
nobody
doing it.
else.
Now, how am I going to do that? How am I able to?
Right.
How do I get myself? Why is it so easy for me to consistently take action? And,
Right.
and again, you can start making the question stronger and
I
more
love that.
specific.
Yeah.
And as you go along, so play with that one. Take your affirmations, rewrite them all as questions.
Yeah.
Try that for a week, then you'll do it for the rest of your life because
Yeah.
it completely changes the emotional state as you read them.
That's amazing. Turning affirmations into what do you call it? Intentional questions.
Presupposing questions. If you want me to give you my technical,
yeah.
positive
Yeah.
because I'm presupposing a positive outcome. I'm presupposing
questions.
positive outcome questions.
That's incredible. That and the mantras. What is your mantra? What do you say to yourself?
Depends on what I'm doing. It's
Okay.
different for everything.
Yeah.
So everything I'm doing. So if somebody cuts me off, my mantra to not get mad at them for cutting me off, right, and follow them off the highway and take them and beat them up, is my mantra is I hope they make it to the hospital on time. Not I hope they get in a car wreck. I hope they must be in a hurry for a loved one. And I, with a sincere heart, I hope they make it to the hospital on time for their loved one.
Or to the bathroom if they're in a hurry.
Right? But isn't that better than how dare they cut me off, right?
Yeah.
Tell them they're number one with the other finger. Right? So that each situation can have its own mantras that actually serve you.
What about in business? What's a good idea for about the phones or what's some of the things?
I gave you one for the phones. It could literally be popcorn, but for me, even if they don't answer, it's okay. Even if they don't answer, it's okay. Even if they don't answer, it's okay. Because I have a script. I'm putting myself in a positive state, and it's no big deal, no big deal, no big deal is another one. No big deal, no big deal, no big deal. Because if we're in a no big deal mindset, it just doesn't matter whether they pick up the phone or not.
Right.
No big deal, no big deal, no big deal. But at least I can't be simultaneously going, what if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? Or what if, man, I spent 2 hours at this already. Am I getting the results? No.
Yeah.
You shut down all that other negative. You put weed block down. Those weeds are no longer growing.
Yeah.
You're planting the flowers that you want.
Man, that's so powerful. So
know,
powerful.
right?
I mean, golden nuggets after golden nuggets. Thank you so much, Kevin. I mean, one last question here that I wanted to ask. If you were you, the way you are right now, but all of a sudden you're back to being 20 years old, right? You're young Kevin with your knowledge of today. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you would have done differently?
So I wouldn't have climbed on that bull that
right.
one time.
Number one. And maybe that's taught you some stuff, too. So.
And that's just it. There's some challenges that we go through that in the moment we hate, but later on they're the things that shape us. You asked me about some of the frustrations and failures, and we didn't get time to really talk a lot of those.
Sure.
Just getting a horn stuck in my jaw and breaking in two places.
That's a pretty
tough one.
Yeah.
But so while I'm in the hospital, you're wired shut for 6 weeks. They literally put like braces on your teeth. They wire them together. You cannot open your mouth to let the jaw heal. But the next weekend, there's another rodeo.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to compete in that because you're in point standings for the year.
Right. Wow.
So if you're going to win the championship,
everything you can, whatever it takes.
Every weekend's points, dollars count. So I'm still competing the next weekend. On the 5th week, wired shut for 6 weeks. On the 5th week, I'm riding a saddle bronc, and make the ride. I think I placed second in the bronc ride in that weekend, but at the end,
with your mouth shut,
with the helmet on, wired shut.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So pickup man comes in to get me. They're supposed to take the buck rein that you have in your hand. You have a rein in your hand while you're riding. They're supposed to take that, dally it around their saddle horn so the horses don't split apart.
Okay.
He didn't do that. He just leans over and tries to pull me onto the back of his horse. Our horses start to go apart, so I'm about to fall down between one horse that's bucking and another horse that's galloping along beside it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm about to go into a mashed potato masher.
Oh, jeez.
I don't like that idea, right?
Right.
So I push off of him. I'm back up on my horse, but by doing that, my stirrups have come off. We call it blowing your pedals. I've blown my pedals at this point.
Oh my goodness.
Which one of the ways to get off a horse while it's bucking is to stand up at the top of their jump. You stand up in your stirrups and you jump off. It's called a flying dismount. You land on your feet, you tip your hat to the ladies, and you walk out of the arena, right?
Sure.
Well, I've got a broken jaw, so that's not a good idea. Ideally, I don't really want to do that.
Right.
But also, I've blown my pedals. I can't do that at this point. But I have no other option than how you get off a bull is normally, if you didn't get bucked off, you would lean back a little bit, and as the bull comes up, it kind of flings you out like a little catapult, right?
Oh, I see.
And that gets you far enough away where you're not going to get hooked by the bull, ideally.
Okay.
Horse is a lot taller. The saddle has a cantle on the back of it.
Okay.
So basically, I lean back, ball up, horse goes, and I am on a catapult and get launched.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it is like over the wall of the castle. And I'm shooting through the air. And at the apex of my trajectory, I'm kind of rotating the air. I'm spotting my landing. I'm like, this is going to look cool if I pull this off. Because in your mind, you're still 10 feet tall and bulletproof, right?
Sure, sure.
But at the apex, the horse turns, kicks, catches me in the other side of my jaw.
No way.
Breaks the other side of my jaw.
No
On the fifth
way.
week, I'm 11 weeks straight. I had to go another 6
Oh my
weeks.
gosh, that's bananas.
And still went on to win the all-around championships that year.
What?
I know.
And there's not a movie about this, Kevin?